when I think about projectors being raised in environments where the cultural conditioning really clearly equates effort and work with value, that's a really dangerous conversation and I think a very difficult conditioning marinade for a projector child to grow up in. And when that becomes your conditioning field and you already have learned to shut off that signal of knowing when enough is enough, and you've learned to define your value by how much you can do, and you can, in short bursts, at least at the beginning, outdo everyone else because you can amplify that sacral energy or whatever else you have open in your chart. It's a really challenging dynamic to decondition, particularly because our cultural narrative around the value of doing hasn't shifted completely yet. And the doingness translates to not just being valued, but it actually translates oftentimes to the material measurements that we have for value, including making money. And so we have a type, and let me just be clear, all types are designed to be fully supported. That's in the chart. But we have this type that's still living in an outdated materialistic mindset that says, if you want to make money and be valued in the world, then you better work. And if you want to make more money and have more value in the world, then you better work harder. And there's a cap on that for the projector. It's also a cap on that, by the way, for the manifestor. We didn't really talk about that. Manifestors can burn out too. And that burnout can happen a little bit later, but they totally can as well. For the projector, it tends to happen earlier because there's no motor to the throat. So there's not a lot of access to any backup energy like the manifestor has. And so we have the sacral that's shut its down its own connection to knowingness when that it's enough is enough. That's tied, it's got its value tied to work, hustle, money, and at a certain point hits a wall. And that wall and the trauma from being told you can't be how you are in the world damages your internal sense of value. And when that internal sense of value gets damaged, it makes it very difficult for the projector to value themselves enough to rest, because rest is an artifact of self-worth, right? When you trust in your own value and you know your own value, you have no shame around resting, right? You know that to sustain yourself, you need to rest regardless of your type, but especially for the projector. And when you value yourself and you know that you are here to serve the people who are ready to receive the wisdom bombs that you have, you don't waste your energy delivering those wisdom gifts, won't call them bombs, those wisdom gifts to people who are ready for it. You have to learn to say no. You have to learn, you have to value yourself enough to be discerning. And oftentimes projectors, in their desperation to prove their value in a world that doesn't see the value of what they have to bring, and the projector who inherently doesn't know in the shadow of that open sacral when enough is enough, can be found running through the streets, throwing their gifts around like confetti, wasting their energy and never getting those bits of wisdom, those brilliance, that brilliance that is the projector, never having the experience, the satisfaction of watching it land and having it be utilized effectively. So our projectors oftentimes have a lot of not only deep personal deconditioning that they have to do from those places where they've been judged because they haven't had the energy, or they haven't been able to do the hustle, or they haven't been able to sustain the hustle. But also they have, I think, in conjunction with that, an additional layer of wounding that can come from a society that doesn't value what they have to offer. Our society doesn't have a narrative that supports the projector narrative. Our society still says hustle gets you there. Our society still says the metric of value is money and numbers. And projectors, being a fairly new type on the planet, by the way, are here to change that narrative. But it's a hard narrative to change because that personal deconditioning and healing has to happen first before they can show the world there's a different way of doing it. I do have to also just add, I think a lot of the dialogue that we talk about in traditional human design about projectors in particular can be very damaging and very limiting. There's a lot of, I'm a projector, therefore I can't do X, Y, and Z. And I have to always bring us back to any type can do anything. It's not about what you do. It's about how do you get into it? How do you enter into your relationship with it? And projectors can do anything provided it's the right invitation and it feels exciting to them. So sometimes I find that when I work with people, we're oftentimes, my projector clients, I'm really having to decondition the mythology of the limits of the projector. Projectors can be wealthy. Projectors can have successful businesses. Projectors can be president. We've had several projector presidents, like the bulk of the presidents in the last 35 years or 40 years now, I guess. It's a long time. I've been here for a while, have been projectors. Projectors are natural leaders. So let's rewrite that narrative, and let's rewrite it, first of all, by helping our projectors heal. I wish I had $1 for every time a projector told me, why did God make me this way? Because it feels really unfair. And it's totally fair because we need you. The world needs you. And so we have to really get our projectors back online, because I think everything is kind of dependent on that, honestly.